Hi, welcome back to Winning Moves. We have been learning chess, learning various concepts of how to checkmate, checkmating techniques, and now when you're doing the checkmating techniques, we realized that if there is no opponent pieces and the lone king, then you can win. But how do we get to that position? We know how to start the game, we know how to develop it. And is there any special technique in which we can cut the opponent pieces? Now in chess, there are 2 or 3 important themes in chess. One is tactics, the other one is strategy and calculation. Now tactics is a technique which helps you to win your opponent pieces. If you know a few tactical principles, it's much more easier to win a game against your opponent. In this episode, we want to look at tactics. Shall we see? Now we're going to look at a simple tactic of pin. Now what is a pin? Look at this position. There is a king, there is a knight. Now it's very difficult. We have win the rook against this. If there's a knight there, it's very difficult. Now how to get rid of this knight? Fortunately for white, the knight is in a position where white can go and attack this knight. Now watch this. White is attacking this knight, and unfortunately for black, the knight cannot run away. Why? If it runs, the king is exposed. So this way of attacking a piece behind another major piece, and if it's a king, it's an absolute pin. What happens? This knight cannot run. It only can be given a support. If there is no support, in the next move, white will come and cut the knight. So pin is a simple technique. Now watch again here. You can give a pin with the help of a rook. We can also give a pin with the help of a queen. There is a queen here. The queen can go here and do a pin. Even a bishop can give a pin. How does a bishop give a pin? Watch here. A bishop can also come here and attack this knight. Now this knight is pinned. If the king is here, he cannot support the knight at all. If he is here, he can come and support the knight. But this knight cannot get out of the line of attack. Now this is what we are trying to say. A pinned piece cannot move. A piece that is under attack, under a pin, it cannot move. There are 2 types of pin. When a piece is attacked, and especially when a piece is attacked against a king, this is called as absolute pin. Why? You simply cannot move the piece. Whereas here you watch, now in case we have a queen here, you see this position? Now this is a relative pin. What we mean here, why do we say it's a relative pin? You can't move the knight here. If you move the knight, your queen will be lost. The value of a knight is 3, whereas the value of the queen is 9. You can move the knight. It's not that you cannot move. If you move it, you will lose your queen. You will lose a major piece. So this is called as a relative pin. In relative pin, you can move, but generally not advisable to move. But in this position, look at this position. This knight can come up 1, 2, 3 and give a check. Now this is also called as intermezzo or in between move. The knight has moved with the check, so the bishop cannot go and cut the queen. An absolute pin is when the piece that is pinned against is a king. What is a relative pin? A major piece. If you move the piece, you lose something. But you can, logically you can move, but it is not advisable to move. Generally, we find that when you play, we'll see it in a particular position where we see how a relative pin works. Look at this position. White plays e4, black plays e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop comes here, bishop comes here. We play knight c3, black plays this, white castles, black also castles, pawn pushes, this pawn comes here. Many times we see this position in the tournament game. Now white plays the bishop here. Now this is a relative pin. Watch here. Black can move the knight, but if he moves, he will lose his queen. So this is a very simple. Why do we pin? Whenever we pin an opponent piece, we ensure the mobility of the piece is gone. The knight cannot move. It's a kind of a tension. It's kind of a pressure. You start ensuring that opponent pieces do not really easily move. Then later on you can give more pressure at that point. That is how you win a game. You put a small pressure, then you bring more pressure. If the pawn is not there, imagine, and the knight is not here, you are attacking this 2 times. If you cut now here, you will cut with the queen, so you don't get anything. There is a pin, so this knight is annoying. It's not able to move out at this particular point of time. Later on, you put more pressure at this point. Watch here. And even if you say the knight is here, he comes here. Now you put further more pressure at this point. You pin a piece and reinforce it with more and more an attack, and generally a pinned piece will lose if it cannot stay there for long, or you will restrict the more of his opponent pieces by giving a simple pin. You can win a piece sometimes by simple pin, sometimes you can create more pressure with the opponent's camp. Now we're going to look at a double attack. What is double attack? Attacking 2 pieces at a time is a double attack. We have seen this regular position: e4, e5, bc4, bc5, queen comes here, pawn pushes. Now he takes the pawn. Watch here. Now we call this as double attack. Why double attack? It's attacking 2 pieces at a time. When you attack 2 pieces at a time, this king is also under attack, the rook is also under attack. So if he moves the bishop back, you cut the rook. If 2 pieces are attacked, generally the opponent will be able to support only 1 piece and the other piece will be lost. So whenever you try to attack, try and see if there are 2 pieces are hanging. If the bishop is here and the knight is here, if you find a position like that, you simply go here and attack both the pieces. You are attacking 2 pieces at the same time, but he can come and support here in this particular position. But if the bishop is here, he cannot support. Watch this attacking. So attacking 2 pieces at a time is double attack. Or there are various ways of attacking double attack. Look at this position. Now here also I am doing a double attack. I said attacking 2 pieces is a double attack. Attacking a king and a bishop is also called as a double attack. See that? 2 pieces you attack, 1 piece moves, you cut the other pieces. You give a check and attack another piece, that's also a double attack. There is also a third concept. If this pawn is here, even without attacking a king, I attack this bishop. 1 piece is under attack. I move it. Now I am attacking a checkmate. Watch this. This is a checkmate. King cannot go anywhere. So when you have a threat of a checkmate in one move, I am going to checkmate and also attacking a piece. You are attacking 2 things. So when you have multiple attacks, more than 1 attack, especially when you attack 2 things, it's called as a double attack. So generally when you attack 2 pieces at a time, you will gain some material. Next position we're going to look at is line clearance. What is line clearance? Let's have a look at the game. e4, c5. Now black is playing the closed Sicilian. And white, if it plays here, it's called as closed Sicilian. He's not attacking. So it goes on like this. This is called as fianchetto. This type of developing the bishop is called as fianchetto. In case he plays b6 here, thinking everything is safe. Look at this position. Now white will play e5. Now he is clearing this diagonal. He is attacking with his pawn. It's a double attack. He is clearing this diagonal. Look at the line that is being cleared. Here with this pawn he is attacking the knight, but this bishop will go and cut the rook. If the knight is moved, he will come and cut the rook. So this concept is called as line clearance. Sometimes it can even happen like this. Bishop is here, can also happen like this. See, this line is cleared. You can clear attacking a knight, and also this line is cleared. Our own piece, when it goes out, it can clear more lines. So the line clearance is very important. A similar concept is square vacation. One of our piece will come and stand there. We will see more of this in the coming episodes. Now look at this concept. Now black is well developed. Now can black do something here? Now black is moving his bishop here. By moving this bishop here, black is giving a check. Watch this. He is also giving a check here, and is also giving a check here. Now this is called as discovered check. Now whenever you do a discovered check, and this not only it's a discovered check, it's also called as double check. Now why double check? Two pieces are giving a check. When sometimes when two pieces gives a check, we said when somebody gives a check, you can do three things. You can cut, you can cover, or you move away. But when somebody gives you a double check, you cannot cut both the pieces in one move. So that is gone. You cannot cover two dimensions. So that is also gone. The only thing you can do is move away. Unfortunately here, he cannot move away out of the check. He cannot come here, cannot come here, he cannot come here. So this is a checkmate. So a double check is discovered check is also a very nice plan. But imagine the queen is here. The bishop is here. Even though it is not a checkmate, by moving this bishop here, he still gives a check. See, this bishop is an emprise. I cannot go and cut because the check is there. So this is called as discovered check. A discovered check. There is a check. This bishop was here, covered. Discover is giving a check, but ultimately the queen is under attack. When the bishop is taking, bishop comes out and supports the king, the bishop will come and cut the queen. A 3-pointer has come and gained a 9-pointer. So what have you gained? You have gained some material. So using discovered check, generally that is not seen. You release your own man and you attack the king, and that piece which is released will go and hit something else. A discovered check is a very easy method of winning material. Now look at this position. But for this diagonal, black seems to be okay. Now we are looking at a concept of smothered mate. What is smothered mate? This queen comes here and gives a check. This is a technique, gives a check. It cannot come here because the queen will come and give a check and it will become a mate supported with a knight. The queen goes here. Now watch carefully. The knight comes up and gives a check. Actually it's a fork. The king, he can cut the queen, but watch here, he can also give a check like this. Double check. When the king goes here, he will come and sacrifice his queen here. Check. What has happened? The rook cuts the queen. The king is smothered by all its pieces, and the knight goes up and gives a check. With a single knight, we ensured that king is surrounded by its own pieces, and then we go and give a check. Here, he cannot move, he cannot cut, and generally when a knight gives a check, you cannot cover at all, because knight check cannot be covered. Whenever a knight gives a check, you can only move away or cut it. Here you cannot cut it, and we ensured the king is smothered. Look, watch this again. Knight was here, king was here. Even if the queen is here, say somewhere here, this was the position. We gave a check. He moved here. We gave a check again. He moved here. A double check. Why a double check? If you come here, you go here, Now you go and give the queen here, check. If you give a queen check, expecting the rook to cut the queen, where you can come and give a mate, you will cut it with the king. And then you do, alas, you simply lost the queen. But ensuring that the king does not cut the queen, we give a check here. Now when the king goes here, you give a check. You cannot cut with the king because the knight is here. That's the important thing of the smothered mate. The rook cuts the queen, the knight comes up and gives a checkmate called as smothered mate. You should know these techniques. If you're not going very elaborately, just touched upon rook, fork, touched upon pin, touched upon discovered check, a double check and a smothered mate. We'll see a lot more small principles where you can learn how you can win your opponent and gain material. Now watch this position. Here we find that black has got a queen and a rook, whereas white has got only a single queen. It looks that black is definitely better and is trying to win. Now look how a tactics can change the whole game. Now we've come out with newer tactics. This is called as skewer. What is a skewer? This queen comes from here and cuts this pawn and gives a check. You are attacking a king, but behind the king is something which is getting lost. Earlier we saw pin, where you pin a piece which cannot move, but here you attack the king, give a check, he moves off, but behind him is something which is lost. A skewer is a way of attacking the king, and whatever that is behind, it is lost. Now watch here, if the king is here and the bishop is here, black has got a rook and white has got a bishop only. I simply move here and give a check. The king moves off, I cut the rook. A skewer is the king is in the front, whereas in pin the piece is in the front. The skewer is a very interesting topic which you will win. A last portion of a skewer and then we'll move on. Now watch this position. Black is trying to take the queen, with the pawn is going to queen, whereas the rook is going to supporting this pawn. If you take the rook, he will cut the pawn, then you cannot queen. So you cannot take the rook. So what do you do? A simple tactical principle of skewer is working. See, I move the rook up. What I am threatening to do? I am threatening to queen. So he is forced to take the pawn. I give a simple check. He moves his king off. I come and cut the rook. So what we see, from single rook we know how to checkmate. These tactical principles help you to eliminate your opponent pieces and your chances of winning gets higher and higher. Now let me introduce a very, very important concept in chess. Now this concept is called as Zugzwang. It's a German word. Now what do you mean by Zugzwang? Now white is trying to queen this pawn here. Black is trying to queen the pawn here. Each of them are trying to attack the pawn. Now in this particular position, if white has to play, he either moves here or here or here. Wherever he goes, he will lose his pawn. Because the support that he is giving to the pawn is gone. If black has to play, he is supporting this pawn, he can't come here because the pawn will cut. So he has to move away. He will lose the pawn. So whoever has to play loses. Now chess is such a dynamic game. If you play carom or if you're doing any other game, you can simply say pause, I don't want to play. You can just move off. But in chess, necessarily each time you make a move, there is a change in the positions. There's just 64 squares and 32 pieces. But every time you make a move, something changes. Now this is the beauty of the game. You have to progressively move. There is a change that is taking place all the time. You see a position, you come back again. You sometimes, very, very rarely, you can have same position occurring 2 or 3 times. This is called as photographic positions in chess. If a same position is occurring the 3 times, then you can claim a draw. It can happen, but the sequence is they played the same move, so it came there. But you have to make a move, and every time you make a move, either you're attacking something or you're giving away something, the position of your pieces keeps changing on the board. The counter, every time new opportunities arises. Every day in our life we have a new opportunity. Life is so dynamic. Everything, new opportunities, new challenges. Similarly in chessboard, every time you make a move, the whole counter changes. Look at this position, very, very rare position. Every time it's good to make a move. A fellow who goes first will always get it. But here, a fellow, you get into a trouble, you go to such a zigzag position, a fellow who has to make a move loses. So this is called as zigzag. Now we look at a simple concept of back rank mate. What is the back rank mate? Many games are won and lost because of back rank mate. Now in the back rank, the king is safe in the castle position, but look, he has not let any move, any space for the opponent, the king, to run away. The rook simply goes up and gives a check. This is called as back rank weakness. A fellow who is supposed to be guarding is come out. The back rank is given to the opponent. He goes up, gives a check, and the king is checkmated. Now sometimes there is a guard. Look at this position. There is a guard. Now here we see two principles working together. Now this rook is guarding the back rank. Now here we see the principle of deflection. What is deflection? The queen will come and cut the rook. Distraction or deflection. The rook will cut the queen. And in the means of cutting the queen is left the back rank and will go on there. Chess develops concentration. Many times you are seriously studying. Your brother will go and switch on the TV. And what happens? You get distracted. Now chess helps you to stay focused, stay concentrated in what you're doing. Sometimes chess players play for 4 hours together sitting in the same place. I remember when I was playing a national championship in Chennai, I had the privilege of beating at least 3-4 international masters in a row. In a final round tournament, when I was playing in the Red Cross Society in Chennai, I remembered one of my professors from Madras Christian College and friends. All my friends had seen the newspaper and come to the tournament hall. But the intensity, I was playing another international master, Hegde, from Mumbai. I was playing that game, and there was no time to greet them. I just have to say hi, and after that when I had to concentrate the board, I simply put my hands like this. I cut them off from my vision and started working on my game. Similarly, you have to stay focused, concentrated in what you begin to do. If you're studying for an exam, you should ensure you don't see the TV at the time. If you're preparing for a world championship, if you're preparing for a national championship, if you're studying for an IIT exam, stay focused. Now, in this episode, we've seen many tactical principles, but concentration is one of the areas which you develop when you play chess. So in chess, we use different strategies. You see, we understand how to start a game. We try to understand there's a strategy. You want to go and capture the king. When you want to go and capture the king, we want to eliminate his opponent pieces. Using these tactical principles of pin, fork, double attack, skewer, smothered mate, back rank, so many I've just touched on these tactical principles. Later on, in the coming episodes, we will look at each tactical principle at length. So chess definitely helps you to have a better perception, helps you to have concentration. So this concentration is very, very important. Many parents come to me, sir, I'm going to put my son into chess. Will he develop concentration? Definitely. Chess will help you to develop memory skills, logical thinking, and concentration. So when you stay focused, concentrated in whatever you do, you will make your winning move. So this is Ebenezer saying bye from Winning Moves.